Hi there, welcome to this presentation. My name is Louise and this is my video for EDO 3341, Teaching in Rural and Remote Communities. I've chosen to base my assignment around the year 4 to 6 grade example and have chosen maths as the curriculum focus. The class will complete 3 lessons on fractions. In this class I have 16 students, 6 in grade 4, 5 in grade 5 and 5 in grade 6. In the class I have 2 ESL or English as a Second Language students, a gifted and talented student, and some students who are working at a grade 3 level. As part of teaching a multi-level class, there are a lot of different ways that we as teachers need to alter our techniques in order to provide students with the education they are entitled to. These alterations are formed around differentiation, teaching strategies, and the resources available in the classroom. As just mentioned, I have a class with several different abilities and needs that I need to cater for. In the year 4 to 6 class, there is a gifted student, 2 Indigenous students who have English as a second language, and students who work from years 3 to 6. Now, differentiation or differentiated instruction is a flexible approach to teaching and addresses the different needs and learning needs of our individual students. The Queensland Department of Education, Training and Employment also weighs in on this, defining differentiation as the intent of providing teaching practices and having all students participating in respectful work. That means basically that the work is challenging, meaningful and engaging. I feel as though I've designed my 3 lessons to embody all 3 of these types of work. This class undoubtedly has various learning needs, but in the past I've experienced classes of single grades with similar needs, so I'm meaning grades 1, 2, 3, 4, they're separate on their own. The point of difference between the 2 is that there are 3 separate curriculum needs that must be catered, planned and delivered. Just as in any other classroom in Queensland, indeed the whole of Australia, there is going to be students working at a higher end level and students who are working at a lower level. This is okay. To think that we are teaching robots on all the same level is a fallacy indeed. In order to cater for the different ability levels and the content to be covered in this class, I've opted to group the students in their year levels, then relying on statistics and assessment information from prior years and tests, I would bring struggling students in years 5 and 6 into the initial grouping with years 4. By using concrete materials explained in teaching strategies later on, these older students may experience that glorious light bulb moment which would then allow them to progress up to their similar age peers. For my gifted student who shows very little interest in English, I've incorporated literacy into the work by expecting students to write out their answers in proper sentences, as well as numbers. As part of the question sheets, instead of straightforward fraction questions, I would attempt to enrich the learning for the student by asking questions using sentences to enhance both mathematics and literacy learning. For my 2 ESL students, I would alter their worksheets by including basic translations which I would attempt to source from their parents or community elders if available. I'd also allow them extra time to complete their work and incorporate group work to encourage peer-to-peer learning. There are many different types of teaching strategies out there in the world. What works for one teacher might not work or fit with another's personal pedagogical philosophy. This is also okay, being as students learn in a myriad of different ways, so do teachers teach. For me personally, I would be looking to implement strategies leading from direct and explicit instruction of new concepts through to constructivist and interactive peer-to-peer support and learning. Studies have shown that students who understand the given work, who then move on and assist a peer to understand, gain themselves a better understanding of the content. In the first lesson, I've grouped the Year 4s and any older students who require it into a group task for explicit instruction with me, while the Year 5s and 6s are working independently on a group activity where the Year 6s demonstrate their prior knowledge and instruct the Year 5s on how to solve addition and subtraction questions using the same denominator in fractions. This reinforces the concept to the Year 6s, while the Year 5s will be able to pick up helpful strategies to solve via their study buddy. The Year 4s who are working with me will be given explicit instruction as well as tactile interactive games and activities to demonstrate the concepts. The use of paper folding, cutting up bread and fruit, and specialist fraction tools are all interlinked and assist with knowledge building. The use of different strategies in classroom teaching encourages students to not only look at the teacher as a wealth of knowledge, but to look at themselves and trust their judgments. This encourages students to move between fully supported learning through to self-sufficient independent learning. This independent learning is needed in a multi-level classroom as fully supported learning is not practical, with students' abilities and curriculum needs varying greatly.
Created using Powtoon.
For my gifted student, they would be able to accelerate their learning and attempt the Year 6 work if they gained an excellent understanding of the Year 5 concepts. A buddy system would benefit my ESL students, as they may not be able to read the instructions on the sheet of paper, but by working with a buddy, the native English speaker could assist with sounding out words and therefore help them understand the work. Other things to be mindful when teaching ESL students is to maintain consistent routines, use simple language, and to break tasks down into achievable steps rather than a huge task which will turn the students off. The question I've used for the first lesson, the peacock and laying eggs, was used to get students basically to think outside the box. If available, I would quickly change the question to something from a local community. It's very easy to adjust these kind of worksheets because you can change them on the internet and quickly put the answers in, and it's easy, done, finished. The following list is from Education for Inclusion and Diversity by Ashman and Elkins. These authors have provided many great strategies to help ESL students and incorporate them into class activities. While I have already spoken about this as part of the video, I felt it was important to leave them in this list. For these 3 lessons, I've relied heavily on technology and internet access. Sandy Plains does have a small class bank of computers. Where needed, I would get students to work 2 between 1 so they could all have a chance to use the games and everything. Students in the 21st century have demonstrated a shorter attention spans to activities unless it's got all the bells and whistles, and I tend to agree with this. I go and watch a movie, and unless it's got the very best graphics or less than perfect animation, I really lose interest and I want to watch something else. Why would students be any different? The resources I've selected, but are not limited to, are the following: A4 folding paper, bread and fruit, and sprinkles for fairy bread later on. Find a word worksheet for the Year 5s and 6s, as well as various question sheets with different levels of work. Computer and internet access, as mentioned before, at least 1 per 2 students. Mathletics access, fraction concrete materials, calculators, string and pegs, coloured paper for the use on the number line with the string, and teacher aids. Studies have shown that students need to be introduced to brand new concepts in their own children's language using concrete and simple materials. The use of household food staples and paper are a fantastic way to use real-world items to introduce the concept of equivalent fractions to the Year 4s. I've heavily incorporated the technology aspect into the older grades, not only as a reward for completing the work, but to assist the students with their computer skills. Even though Sandy Plains is a P10 school, students who complete their Year 11 and 12 study years will either need to go to a boarding school, which would more than likely have excellent computer access, or a school of the air, most of which now is school of the Wi-Fi air. Mathletics is an exceptional maths resource to use in the classroom. It caters to each individual student and their needs and ability. Teachers are able to alter the content to complete, and tasks remain within the guidelines of the Australian curriculum. When Sandy Plains is able to finish fundraising for the iPads, Mathletics is also able to be used on these devices as well as normal desktop computers. The use of string, pegs and coloured paper gives the students ownership over their activity. They can see just how much they have learnt over the 3 lessons, and it is a constant visual reminder that can remain in place in the classroom on display. Sandy Plains does have access to teacher aids, and several parents have expressed their availability to help within the classroom. While I'm grateful for their help, I've chosen to keep the precious time set aside for English and history work, being as that is when the predominant amount of written work is being completed. This benefits the 2 ESL students who are working at a Year 3 level, and the gifted student who has displayed little interest in English. I felt as though the time would be spent more wisely this way and would benefit the students' learning. However, for one of the lessons, I utilised aid time for assistance with logging onto computers and reading for ESL students with questions. Resources are so valuable in the education of students. They do not always have to be the latest and greatest fad out there. They can be as simple as egg cartons and plastic cups. Encouraging students to use their imagination and creativity, teachers can provide their classes with an enriching tool bag of resources. Well, that's about it. Thank you for watching this presentation. I hope it was both entertaining and thought-provoking. Please feel free to ask me any questions by emailing me. Thanks again for watching.
Created using Powtoon.